Before we get to that, the response has just been brutal, okay? Everyone is calling her out. They're saying that the look is wrong. People are making fun of saying that she looks like she came dressed up as the assassin that was walking up the stairs.
Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO, and I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband.
Straight to jail, straight to jail. For questioning, at least, Erika. I don't care who's mad. I really do not care who wants to be upset after this episode. Really, you'll be wasting.
Erika Kirk appears to be done tolerating the online drama. And according to widespread online discussion, she made that abundantly clear when reports surfaced claiming she was actively considering or pursuing a major libel and defamation case directly targeting Candace Owens. The situation has reached such intensity that rumors even began spreading, suggesting people close to Candace may be growing frustrated with the sustained controversy, though those specific claims remain completely unverified. A significant number of viewers are now asking the loudest question this entire feud has produced. Is this the moment Candace finally slows down and stops making Erika Kirk the centerpiece of her content platform? For months, according to accumulated social media reactions, Candace has been deeply and consistently focused on Erika Kirk, producing what has functioned as an investigative content series filled with pointed questions, documented theories, and ongoing commentary that has kept the conversation alive and growing.
I have to tell you, we have an even bigger problem when it comes to the systemic indoctrination and radicalization of our own citizens. This is what got my husband killed.
But here is precisely where the situation becomes legally and strategically complicated. Even with all the videos, all the speculation, and all the online discussion, Candace has not clearly stated in a single direct public sentence that Erika was personally responsible for her husband's death. Much of what she has produced appears to center on publicly available information, pointed commentary, and questions that were already circulating in various forms across the internet. And in legal terms, some knowledgeable viewers believe that specific framing may make a defamation case significantly harder to build and sustain in court. People are now seriously asking two competing and important questions simultaneously. Is Erika genuinely trying to defend her name and seek accountability for real harm done? Or do some viewers believe this legal strategy is also functioning as a way to redirect the public spotlight back onto the accusers rather than the accused? At this point, Erika Kirk does not appear to be making any effort to maintain even surface-level friendliness toward Candace Owens. The tension between them has reportedly been building and intensifying for an extended period. And even though they once appeared to maintain a degree of public composure for Charlie's sake, that visible restraint appeared to collapse publicly in the aftermath of the controversy surrounding the White House correspondents' dinner incident.
I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the handpicked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it.
Just days after that event, Erika appeared on The Charlie Kirk Show and addressed a range of issues that had been actively circulating online. She spoke about the dinner itself, about what she believed contributed to the public reaction, about the internet's treatment of her, and about her ongoing and deepening conflict with Candace Owens. She suggested that the internet has become a central part of what is wrong with public discourse because, in her stated view, people have been relentlessly targeting and criticizing her for months without accountability. She also specifically mentioned Drewski by name, saying his whiteface comedy skit had upset her personally and added significant additional pressure to an already heavily strained public situation. But the moment that really made viewers pause and pay specific attention was when she pivoted directly and pointedly to Candace. That is when the conversation shifted from frustration about general media treatment to something considerably more personal and considerably more serious. According to Erika's stated position, Candace had repeatedly suggested or strongly implied that Erika was somehow connected to Charlie's death.
All right, you guys, straight to jail, straight to jail. For questioning, at least, Erika. I don't care who's mad. I really do not care who wants to be upset after this episode. If the situations were reversed, and there were this many verifiable lies that Charlie told regarding the murder or assassination of his wife, Charlie would be in prison awaiting trial. And I actually agree with that assessment. We are way beyond coincidence. This is now a full-blown conspiracy.
Though Candace and her supporters have consistently and firmly disputed that specific interpretation of what was actually said and communicated, some viewers believe that confronting Candace was the central purpose Erika had been building toward throughout the entire 9-minute appearance, even though she addressed numerous other topics along the way. Critics noted she spent comparatively limited time engaging with the wider substantive questions surrounding Tipusa correspondence dinner controversy or the accountability questions her own audience had been asking. Instead, the majority of her focus landed on the media's treatment of her and repeatedly on Candace Owens and the narrative Erika believed was being deliberately constructed and pushed against her. That specific pattern of focus is when some viewers began reading the situation differently. People started wondering whether Erika was primarily attempting to clear up legitimate public concerns, or whether this was fundamentally a very personal and very public confrontation with someone she had clearly decided was her primary enemy.
So yeah, across the board, people are laughing, they're mocking it, they're saying it was, you're lying, and also it's just weird. It was weird and it was awkward. And speaking of the lying, which, like I said, many people called out right away, as that person said, I've never made that statement on this podcast.
And according to online commentary tracking the buildup of this tension, the conflict between them did not materialize suddenly or without documented cause. Ever since Charlie Kirk's death, Candace Owens has engaged publicly with multiple theories and serious questions surrounding the circumstances of what happened, and each new discussion appeared to draw more people into the controversy and expand the scope of what was being examined and alleged. At various points, online conversations fueled by Candace's content included theories about possible government involvement, international connections, and other disputed angles. None of those claims have been officially confirmed through any independent verification process, but each time Candace spoke publicly, the speculation grew noticeably more intense and reached significantly larger audiences. As those theories spread and accumulated, the entire situation transformed into a non-stop and self-reinforcing online debate, with Erika sitting right at the center of it, regardless of whether she engaged or stayed silent. Every new video, every live stream, every viral clip kept pushing the drama further, and people began organizing themselves into opposing camps as though this were a competitive event rather than a real and devastating personal tragedy.
Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO. And I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband. And the list goes on and on and on.
Candace's supporters argued she was simply asking difficult questions and connecting publicly available information in ways that others people were too cautious or too politically constrained to ask openly. They insisted she never directly accused Erika of causing Charlie's death, and maintained she was exercising entirely legitimate free speech by publicly examining suspicious details that had already been widely circulated across platforms before she ever touched them. But Erika and her supporters saw the situation through a fundamentally different lens. From their perspective, the months of repeated speculations, constant dramatic framing, and ongoing commentary created an environment where substantial portions of the public effectively blamed Erika anyway, even without a single direct accusation ever being explicitly stated. The cumulative narrative effect of sustained implication, they argued, was functionally equivalent to a direct accusation in terms of its real-world impact on reputation and public perception. That specific argument is why the potential legal dispute became such a major and sustained topic of online discussion.
Pretty sure that when she sat down with Caroline Levitt on stage at a Turning Point event, she says that she didn't read the headlines, she doesn't care, she's completely removed. We've been told over and over again that she's just not aware of what's going on. Now she's saying, I actually went to this event because I needed to confront these journalists who day in and day out, I actually know their names, which is more than I could say. I actually don't know the names of all the journalists who write articles about me. I don't care to learn about their lives. I actually virtually never give them statements. My PR isn't open.
Because it touches something genuinely important about where commentary ends and defamation begins. The internet appears sharply and relatively evenly divided on that core question. Some people believe Erika is finally and appropriately standing up for herself after enduring months of public character assassination that went well beyond reasonable commentary. Others think this legal escalation could open a much larger and more important conversation about how far online personalities and public commentators can push implication and suggestive framing before crossing into legally actionable territory. Meanwhile, as those broader questions were circulating, attention had already been shifting toward the people closest to Charlie, particularly within Tipusa and his immediate inner circle. Candace had been raising pointed questions about loyalty dynamics, internal organizational disagreements, and financial decisions allegedly made behind the scenes. Those claims remain contested and no official confirmation has been provided for any of them. When Candace spoke specifically about Erika, some viewers felt she was being anything but subtle in her framing.
The reason that she gives for people asking that question, why did you go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner? You literally just said you couldn't do your UGA commitment because there were credible threats and you couldn't trust the Secret Service to absolve them. Then you did an event with Trump which relied upon the Secret Service, and then now you're doing another event, and it's like a press event, right? That actually Charlie hated. He always made fun of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So why do you feel obliged to show up?
She described Erika as someone the public should actively question, someone whose publicly told story deserved significantly more scrutiny, and someone who warranted direct and sustained public attention. At one point, Candace reportedly suggested that Erika should be formally questioned by authorities in connection with Charlie's passing. That single suggestion divided the internet before any verified supporting evidence was presented to justify the claim. Then the situation escalated dramatically when Candace launched what became known as the Bride of Chucky series, and that is the moment many viewers identified as the point where the conflict stopped feeling like public commentary and started feeling deeply and unmistakably personal. Rather than limiting focus to recent controversies or organizational questions, Candace reportedly dug extensively into Erika's past, examining her upbringing, family background, personal relationships across different periods of her life, and people she had allegedly been connected to across various professional and social contexts. The allegations became heavier and more specific with each episode.
Charlie. They just Charlie. They just Charlie.
Candace questioned whether Erika had accurately described portions of her own background, discussed alleged connections to powerful and controversial figures, and raised disputed online speculation involving circles connected to names including Epstein. These claims remain unverified and are strongly disputed by Erika and her supporters. Some viewers felt the content had crossed a visible line, moving beyond political criticism and organizational accountability into what looked like a systematic and personal character demolition. And once allegations of that nature begin spreading online at scale, they generate their own momentum and can prove extraordinarily difficult to stop regardless of their ultimate accuracy. By the time Erika finally sat down to address everything publicly, the situation had clearly grown well beyond one comment, one disputed claim, or one interpersonal disagreement. It had transformed into a very public battle where reputations, organizational credibility, personal histories, and real careers were all being examined and debated in front of a massive audience with strong and emotionally invested opinions on both sides. Candace's public response to Erika's appearance on The Charlie Kirk Show came fast, and without visible hesitation, she went directly to social media and posted with her characteristic bluntness. She wrote, "Very uncomfortable to watch, painful prompt to read, a speech clearly written by someone else, objectively terrible. So they will now pay for people to tell us otherwise. Also, of everything I've said about Erika, she chooses to respond to something I never said. They always lie." That final line immediately and specifically caught widespread attention because technically, Candace has consistently maintained she never directly stated in one explicit public sentence that Erika was responsible for Charlie's death. But many viewers felt the months of repeated theories, sustained implication, and carefully constructed suggestive framing had been designed to lead audiences to exactly that conclusion through their own reasoning. So when Erika addressed it directly, some observers believed she was responding less to any single specific statement and more to the overall and accumulating narrative Candace had been building and expanding across months of consistent content. Instead of dialing back the intensity or attempting to find any kind of middle ground, Candace pushed harder, which only raised the temperature further. Her supporters flooded social media with clips, screens, old interviews, and competing theories. For Erika, the situation had clearly moved well past internet gossip into territory she experienced as seriously and concretely damaging to her reputation and her standing. And once large audiences spend months repeating the same narrative around someone's name, even indirect accusations and carefully crafted implications become extremely difficult to escape regardless of their factual basis. Meanwhile, Candace's supporters argued she was being unfairly targeted for expressing opinions and examining publicly available information, and that Erika was attempting to use legal pressure to silence legitimate public criticism rather than directly and transparently answering the substantive questions being raised. Critics of Candace, however, pushed back on that framing, arguing that months of repeatedly connecting someone to alarming theories and suspicious framing can powerfully shape public perception even when no single direct accusation is ever technically stated. That is precisely the argument at the heart of why this potential legal dispute generated the level of attention it did. Then the alleged screenshot appeared and completely shifted the conversation again. According to online discussions, a screenshot began circulating that allegedly showed Candace texting a former T-Pussy employee shortly before a private sit-down meeting with Erika, a meeting that had been publicly presented as an attempt to calm tensions and clear the air between both sides. But if the screenshot was authentic, some viewers believed it painted a dramatically different picture of what Candace's private intentions were heading into that meeting. In the alleged exchange, the former employee reportedly asked Candace what she planned to discuss during the meeting. Candace's alleged response immediately triggered enormous reaction across every platform because it reportedly read, "I'm asking everything. First question, why did you murder your husband?" complete with crying emojis at the end. That alleged message reignited the controversy with immediate and explosive force, because many people felt it directly and specifically contradicted Candace's repeated public position that she had never accused Erika of being connected to Charlie's death. Candace's supporters pushed back hard, arguing the message required context, that the crying emojis made the sarcastic intent completely obvious, and that private messages can be selectively edited, stripped of context, or outright fabricated once they enter the social media ecosystem. From their perspective, if this screenshot represented the foundation of Erika's defamation case, the legal argument would be extremely thin before it ever reached a courtroom. Erika's supporters saw it completely differently, arguing that regardless of tone or emoji, a statement of that nature privately shared before a supposed reconciliation meeting revealed what Candace was genuinely thinking and genuinely framing privately, which they believed aligned directly with the public narrative she had been building all along. To them, it was the confirmation they had been looking for. Neither side has settled the authenticity question with any decisive evidence, and the dispute remains active, contested, and generating ongoing engagement across platforms. What has become undeniably clear is that this conflict has moved far beyond two public figures arguing online. It has become a genuinely significant and publicly watched battle involving political influence, media power, reputation management, legal strategy, and the deeply important and still unresolved question of where sustained implication ends and actionable defamation legally begins. Candace continued pressing on multiple specific fronts, including the question of why Erika attended the White House Correspondents' Dinner in the first place, given Charlie's well-documented and repeatedly stated criticism of that specific event and the press culture it represented. She also pointed to what she framed as a contradiction in Erika's own public statements, specifically that Erika claimed to be avoiding online chaos and staying above the noise while simultaneously saying she attended the dinner partly to confront the journalists and media figures she claimed not to be paying attention to. Candace kept returning to that specific tension as evidence that Erika's public statements were being strategically shaped rather than reflecting genuine and consistent thinking. Erika's supporters responded that the comments were being deliberately misread and taken out of context, and that attending an event to confront sources of criticisms does not contradict a broader commitment to avoiding online negativity. But Candace appeared entirely unconvinced and made no visible effort to soften her public position or reduce the pressure she was maintaining. From Candace's observable public posture, the lawsuit threat did not appear to be producing any deterrent effect. If anything, she seemed to treat it as confirmation that she was asking exactly the right questions and getting close enough to something significant that legal pressure was being deployed to push her back. She framed the situation as a battle over who gets to control the narrative surrounding Charlie's death and his legacy, and positioned herself as the person refusing to allow that narrative to be managed away from public scrutiny. But Erika's side remained equally determined, continuing to characterize months of sustained suggestive commentary as causing real and documented harm to her reputation, regardless of whether any single statement technically crossed the explicit defamation threshold on its own. The core legal question, whether accumulated implication without a single direct accusation can constitute actionable defamation, is one that courts and legal scholars have debated in different contexts, and this specific situation may provide a very public and very high-profile test of exactly where that line sits. What do you actually think about all of this? Is Erika standing up for herself appropriately and seeking legitimate accountability? Or is Candace being unfairly pressured for commentary that stayed on the right side of the legal line? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe, share this with someone following the story, and stay locked in for the next one.